Leeds United are set to be absolutely battered by some selection issues going into their match on Friday against Watford. And let's be honest, choosing a first 11 is always tough, always has been tough, always will be tough, but that is especially true when your club is missing players. And the Whites could be hit really hard by that this weekend. But first, before we get into all of that, you've got your own selection issues. You've got to decide whether or not to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. It's one click away. Cheers. Anyway, diving into the potential issues that Leeds United will have going into the weekend. And remember, this is before any Daniel Farke press conferences or anything. This is with the information that we have. Georginio Rutter was injured going into the break, had a little bit of a hernia issue, and thankfully he had had surgery to fix it. And reports out of the club were saying that it should be roughly a 10-day recovery, which means that he should, in theory, be back in time for Watford, but we can't be 100% sure. The thing with this injury is, and it's something really positive that I've noticed, and I really enjoyed this about this whole thing, you'll see in the Premier League, you'll have people like, oh no, I've slightly hurt my hamstring right at the start of an international break, and then they won't seemingly do anything about it, and then suddenly they're 100% for their first game back. This clearly isn't the case for Rutter. We saw him in a hospital bed after the surgery. Hopefully he gets well, and that would be absolutely perfect because Watford's sort of defence and midfield connection, the link between the two, not good in the slightest, and that's where Rutter absolutely thrives. I'd love to see him back, but we can't be sure if he will make it. In addition to that, which is already a problem, injuries are already bad, but we have to consider the international issue. So, going to run through a list of players right now. Willy Gnonto was called back to Italy's under-21s to make sure that they could qualify for the under-21s Euros. He was going to get into the senior squad, but Italy haven't qualified yet. They need some quality down there. Gnonto's young enough. That all makes sense. I think he scored for their side in their first of the qualifying matches, but fair enough to him. He's pretty good. In addition to that, Archie Gray made his England under-21s debut, scored a goal. Thankfully, that was off the bench. And Matteo Joseph and Charlie Cresswell have also both made appearances in their youth squads, sometimes on the pitch. It depends. But it's not just youth players that have been called up internationally. You've got Glenn Kamara, Junior Firpo, Ilya Gruev, and Liam Cooper, who have all made appearances on the bench or in the side for their international squads. And there is quite a big issue with having so many international players. We might be a championship club, and that is really good to have a lot of international players in the championship because that shows that you've got the quality in your squad. However, issue is it adds to the minutes that every single one of your players has to deal with. The Championship is one of the longest leagues in Europe. It's got 46 matches in a season, 49 if you get to the playoff final. Add FA Cup, add League Cup, and a lot of the players that we've sent off to international games at the moment are already players with high match loads. Ilya Gruev has played all the time since Christmas. Same for Glenn Kamara. He barely gets a rest. Archie Gray is in the same position. Gnonto has been playing regularly as of late. Junior Firpo has been basically our first choice left back since the Christmas break. And losing these players not to injury where they're able to rest and recover over time, but to an international squad where they're going to play more football means that there is a higher risk of injury and unavailability. And one of these players we are 90% sure won't be in the first team for the game back anyway, even if they are fit, and that's Junior Firpo. On the Firpo issue, he is a 20-hour plane flight away. He's playing in Peru 60 hours before we play, and he's playing 1,000 feet in the air, which isn't very good for you anyway, because there's not that much oxygen up there, which makes it even harder to play football, which means there's more strain on the muscles. So it's a combination of having very little rest, having a really long journey to get back to Leeds, and having already played 2 matches within that 2-week period when a lot of players have played nothing. So that's a massive risk of injury, unavailability, especially for Junior Firpo. I think we'll likely see Sam Byron play against Watford. Firpo may be back for the Monday. Firpo may be on the bench. Who knows? We'll find out. But the risks of injury and unavailability are huge. And you might have noticed there are 4 players that I haven't mentioned yet. The Wales issue. Oh dear, this is where we could get a little bit of problems. They face Poland tonight as I'm recording this for qualification to Euro 2024. Euro 2024 is colossal for Wales. They have done quite well in recent Euros tournaments. They've started to grow a position on the world stage, and that means that they're going to throw everything at this match. Ampadu, Rodon, and Roberts were all arguably in their best 11 players. They made their first 11 appearances in the match against Finland, which was fantastic. That's a first choice team. They've got minutes. It shows that they're valued by their country. That's a really good thing. Simultaneously, Dan James also came off the bench, managed to score a goal to make it something like 4-1, 5-1, something incredibly high to Wales, which is really good for their morale. But you need to consider that this is going to be a very, very high-intensity match. Both teams are going to go at it hammer and tongs. We know what Connor Roberts can be like when he's passionate. We know what Dan James can be like when he's got his proper running going. We know what Joe Rodon can be like in the challenge, and when he's got to deal with Robert Lewandowski, there's a risk of an injury. Ethan Ampadu is already all over the pitch. Now he's in that midfield role, which means he has to move even more. Risks throughout. And we could realistically see all 4 of those players start for Wales because Dan James really impressed when he came off the bench. And Dan James always really impresses. And these high-intensity matches are what he is perfect for because you know you will always get 100%. You will always get a high press. That's how he scored his goal. And I think we have to see a very, very genuine injury risk out of this Wales versus Poland match. And I just sort of hope that it's one of those games where Wales get 2 or 3 goals obscenely early, wrap it up quickly, and then they can chill a little bit. And then Roberts and Ampadu and Rodon and James will be a little bit more protected, and we can have them fit and healthy for the match against Watford. Because that is the spine of our defence. And if we lose that, potential issues. But when you see all these issues mount up, you have to think, what can Leeds United do? There's got to be something that you can do to deal with this, right? Surely? Maybe? Realistically, there's not too much. You can't hugely impact international matches because once they're away in their training camp, they're training under that manager. They're following that manager's tactics. They're in the lineup how the manager wants, which means that, in essence, Daniel Farke loses control over those players for that period. Now, you can always do that thing that I mentioned earlier that a lot of Premier League clubs will do, that you'll see in title races all across the world, where you basically say, sorry, this person's injured. And effectively, we have protected Rutter from injury because we know that he was hurt for a while going into this international break, had a bit of pain with a hernia. Thankfully, he made the decision to take the surgery now. So he misses the international break rather than club football. We've protected him from a worsening injury, which is brilliant. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all you can do is sit and wait. Sit, watch the international matches. If someone gets injured, plan around it and hope that it works out for the best. Outside that, it's really tough. You need to think cleverly. You need to sort of make sure that anyone that is still in the training camp is at Leeds, at the very least, is ready to play if they are needed at the end of that week. Because all of those players that have gone internationally, except maybe Mateo Joseph, are first-team prospects. Which means that who's left tends to be bench players, tends to be rotation options. So the likes of a Jadon Anthony, Sam Byram will have to be on high alert and ready to take that spot. And hopefully they are. It ups the level of competition in the squad, and we just see performances getting better and better from now. But ultimately, I don't know what you think. Let me know what you thought about anything discussed here. Will we see any injuries going into Friday's match? Does Daniel Farke have any big selection issues today? I'm not entirely sure. But like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below what you think's going on, and subscribe here if you haven't yet. Could even become a channel member. That's always massively appreciated. And I will see you later. That was really smooth. Sorry. This is for Mr. Steve Boddy. The sign's back. I'm gonna pop it up there. See you later.